Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It is Ian here in beautiful Beijing. So this video is a little bit more raw than my usual video, and it will be me having a wee conversation with myself you can listen to about the adjustments that you have to make when you move to China. We know here, all the comments are my own, including the purposeful wee dig at the UK government. So let's be honest with ourselves, they're not exactly fantastic at this moment in time. I don't hate anything about the West. There are amazing things happening there, as there are amazing things happening here in China. Really, my aim is all about getting along, so I'm all into peace and stuff. So let me begin. When you move to any country, to get the most out of that experience, you really have to adjust to the culture and the lifestyle of the country or the city that you have moved to. I've lived here in China for 5 years, and I've been adjusting to many things. Much of the adjustment really has been quite positive. Just like any experience, there are some things that can really frustrate you, and even though I've made the adjustment, some of these things still maybe niggle at me, but that's a challenge. So this video is all about some of the things that I've adjusted to. But if you were to move to my country, you would have to adjust to some things there that might amaze you, you would love, but also adjust to other things that you will really be stretched by. Some amazing things in Scotland and the UK, like breathtaking scenery, warm welcome people. Some things though may frustrate you, like the extreme wet weather that you get, and some of the nonsense around football and religion. The food, I have to say, is not the best, it's not top cuisine. And you would also have to adjust to a corrupt and immoral Westminster government. Where else could your government waste £37 billion on a failed track and trace system that they were personally invested in and then get away with it? So I just want to pause here for a minute. I'm not sure if people really understand how much money £37 billion actually is. I digress. Back to the 13 things that you have to really adjust to when living in China, and counting down from 13 to 1. So number 13 then is mobile phone hypnosis. I mean, it might happen in other countries, but it seems to be a thing here for me, as I often get stuck behind someone walking really wonky, or even worse, a guy watching TV while cycling all over the road, or someone stopping at the top of the escalator to play a game and me crashing into them. Mobile phone is a necessity here, but the addiction to the screen seems to add a lot of sidewalk chaos for me. People though are more tolerant of each other, so people move around this obstruction with a lot of ease. In the West, I could see a lot of arguments and fights over this type of thing. Me, I just adjust. I accept it just is the way it is, and I move through the crowd like a gazelle. Okay, so number 12 is the language. The language is so hard to learn. I mean, it's really hard to learn. It's reliant on not actual the words, but the meaning is very much in the sound of the word. A guy from Glasgow, that makes it really hard, double hard. There are ways to get around it, and it takes a big adjustment, and any attempt to speak the language here is warmly received, because people know it's not that easy for Westerners. So I adjust, and at least I try to speak it sometimes, even though my Putonghua bo hao, will show you they are not good. Number 11 is VPN. VPN is something that you need to get access to some of the Western sites like Facebook. You really need a VPN. It's just a pain in the arse though. It's a kind of cat and mouse game. Sometimes you get a VPN that works well, you pay a year subscription, and then within a month it's slowed down to a crawl basically, and it's unusable. I adjust by using different VPNs, and also don't sign up for a full year. Don't get too attached to the social media. That's good for two things. A, helps my sanity, but also just gives me some space, because social media in the West is nasty. So I think I'm going to move my location from where I am, although I'm sitting in a shopping mall, it's quite quiet. But number 10, congee, which is like watery porridge. In Scotland, we like our porridge thick, so I really struggle with the congee. I adjust on this in a way that I just don't eat it. It's just not for me. Sorry, not my thing. Number 9 for me is toilets. So there is some toilets here, squatty potties, some communal situations that take a little bit of getting used to. There's another thing that you just have to also adjust to, and that is the toilet paper rationing. This is where you only have one toilet tissue dispenser when you walk into the toilet, and you're supposed to take the amount of tissue you need. It is done so maybe you don't block up the drains or something, but well, it's kind of guesswork, and that adds a little bit too much pressure. So I adjust. I carry one of these, a wee handy pack of tissue. Don't leave home without that. Number 8, and I hope you can hear me because I've came to the road. Because number 8 for me is the road chaos. Silent electric bikes can really scare the bejesus out of you. And a tip for me is walk with your elbows in, even if you're on the pavements, because they scoot down the pavements and even over the walkover bridges and stuff. The one thing though that I have to adjust to is the people on scooters coming towards me on the one-way bike lanes. In the UK, this would cause so many arguments and so many riots, but here it just kind of flows and people find a way to make it work. I've had to adjust and I just follow the person in front of me. That way I avoid any Mexican standoff situation with a bike that is heading directly for me. I think I have learned that there is no one-way system really. It's just get from A to B in any way you can. My adjustment, I just live with it. Number 7 here is paperwork. There is paperwork for everything, and it can be really frustrating even when you have to do the simplest of things. But once you get the paperwork in order, everything becomes easier. It's a kind of paradox. Get the paperwork right, and everything's easy. My adjustment is to have patience, keep a good tight personal filing system, and ask people for help, because people always want to help you. These guys. Number 6 is ordering food. When you order food, what you think are main dishes and starters and even desserts are all served together. So there's no rhyme or reason to it. So adjust. My adjustment is either I eat my ice cream along, these guys, amazing, along with my main dish, or sometimes if you really want to adjust, order your dishes as you go. Order your desserts after you've eaten your main dish. So see, anything can be overcome with the right attitude, as they say. So stay tuned for my countdown from 5 to 1. I think this list is not always negative, it's actually quite positive. So this is how to spend your lunchtime. Your game of hacky sack. So here comes my top 5 things that you have to learn to adjust to here in China. Number 5 is the no tipping culture. There is no need to tip here in China, and that takes a little bit of getting used to. I still tip in certain places, mostly taxis, but on the whole there is no tipping required. In the West, where tipping culture is like crazy, then it does cause a problem, because you do have to deal with some guilt. Once you adjust, you realise that people believe in the service that they provide, and the culture is all about delivering excellent customer service, although sometimes it's a bit rough. That's an adjustment for you to make. Thankfully for me, I adjust. I just say thank you a lot and be very, very polite, and in the coffee shops I usually clean up after myself. So the no tipping culture does take a little bit of getting used to, but I think it adds to what is a very polite society. I don't think I'll ever get tired of looking at that. Look, just an amazing building, really different. Anyway, my number 4 is queue management. If you don't push in when it comes to queuing in China, you will get pushed out. There is not need to be overly polite in a queue in China. It's a bit of a scrum in many queue situations, and the wee old aunties are the best at it. If you're not paying attention, you end up at the back of the queue wondering what the hell happened there. I've adjusted, and I just get right in there when it comes to the jostling in the queue. That said, the wee aunties still always beat me to the punch. They've got a skill and a talent to do it really, really well. And the crazy thing is, no one argues here or fights. It just is what it is. This is when I see the Westerners mostly lose it. Most of the time, it's Western people that just lose it in a queue situation like that. And that brings me on to my number 3, coming right up. A big lucky cat. Must be luck for me then. So for my number 3, I've decided to come to this bar here, which is superb. So number 3 is assholes. Now I will qualify this. You get assholes in every country, and in some countries there is a higher proportion than most. Here we also have assholes. They are vastly outnumbered by decent people, I have to say. In fact, here in China I see very few, and 99% of the time the assholes are overprivileged Westerners who seem to think rules don't apply to them, it can be really embarrassing sometimes. And if you're going to come and live in another country, be polite, be respectful, don't be an asshole. No matter what you're doing in life, don't be an asshole. I'm working in progress, I'm trying hard not to be an asshole. I'm right here, next to an ice rink. Look at this. So my number 2 is the media narrative, the story versus the reality. This can drive you crazy because you read the Western media slating China and talking about how terrible things are here in China, and then you walk around a beautiful city like Beijing, praise a bird, and you start to realise that things don't quite add up. And to deal with the false media narrative, I just adjust and accept that most of the time that this will and always be the point of the media. After all, it's a business model. However, sometimes I do have a little bit of a dig, but I'll continue to adjust and calm myself because it's just not good for your sanity to get too worked up about the Western media's dodgy narrative. So my number 1, the big adjustment that you have to really make when you move to China and you start to walk around and travel or even stay out late at a bar or a nightclub, it takes a bit of time to get used to, because in the West you just get so used to checking over your shoulder or worrying about your bag being stolen, pickpockets, or even your house getting broken into when you're at work, or worse, when you're actually in your bed at night sleeping. The adjustment I'm talking about here is adjusting to how safe China actually is. Adjusting to walking around at night knowing that there is little or no chance of you getting mugged, assaulted or shot. At first you wonder if it's real or not, but through time you adjust and you realise that there is another way for a society to live together in a safe and supportive way. Now that is an adjustment that is most welcome when you start to live in China. So I hope all of that makes sense, and thank you as always for watching this video. Don't forget, subscribe to my channel if you want to experience more of what life has to offer here in China and across Asia. As always, do the right thing, look after each other, and from me, peace out.